So today we're here to launch an industry developed solution to a problem the industry is willing to recognise, and that is we need to do a lot more to prevent suicide. And as I emphasise, it's an industry developed solution. Just as Incolink 30 years ago was an industry developed solution. It was an industry developed solution to solve a problem around protecting worker entitlements. And over the interceding 30 years, we've grown from protecting redundancy funds to providing income protection insurances, which we subsidise to the tune of $10 million per annum. We provide a 24/7 counselling service. We'd have to be, I think, probably the largest non-government investor in industry skills training in the country. We support occupational health and safety programs right throughout Victoria. We provide preventative education sessions, toolbox sessions across work sites around Victoria and Tasmania. We provide a job support network, and we provide a critical incident response team. And it was through the critical incident response team that we noticed the trend in the increase in suicides, a number of critical incidents that we were responding to that were related to suicide. And a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, it was probably 1 every 170 days. Today, it is 1 in 40 days. We're dealing with a problem related to suicide. So since that time, we've seen that sort of really stressful data, we've been working with the industry. We've called out Paul Breslin, sent the message out from Multiplex, Jerry Ayres from CFMEU, Chris Giblin from the Plumbing Union, and many others. John Darcy from Master Builders, got together at Incolink to work out a solution. What could we do to highlight the problem? Start a conversation about suicide.
Some of us, there is this macho image in the building industry, like we don't talk about stuff. And part of the problem is, I mean, everyone's, you worked on a site, you tell someone something in confidence, please don't tell anyone, no, I won't tell anyone, and before you know it, he's told someone but told him not to tell anyone, so 400 people know about your problem, but everyone's telling everyone don't tell anyone about it, so you think no one knows. But I mean, and in a way, sometimes it's because people care for you. And, for us, it's sort of like breaking down the barriers. And you've got to work out ways of breaking down the barriers and getting people to talk about it. And I'll give you an example, and a lot of you will know this person, Skinner, Adrian McLaughlin. Pretty tough operator, was an official of our union for a long time, shop steward before that, Irish background, pretty tough, not much used to shake him up. He went back to live in Ireland and follow all his dreams, and he's the last person you ever would have sort of thought that would have committed suicide, and he did. And I was just shocked when I heard, devastated, and you sort of think if someone like him could sort of succumb to whatever pressures were going on in his life and to sort of, commit suicide, what hope is there, and talking to people, you sort of find out in the days before it, there was absolutely no signs. There was no signs of showing up. I mean, he was pretty happy, upbeat, and all the rest of it and all that. And in sort of doing a bit more research on it, what we've sort of found out is there's sometimes the signs of a person who's resigned themselves to, well, I'm going to sort of end it all. So there's a big burden lifted off them, and they're sort of all actually happy-go-lucky for the next few days. It doesn't happen in all cases, but that's one of the signs. So for us, we educate our shop stewards to look for signs, and it's some of you, if you've worked with someone and they've later committed suicide, you sort of think back on it and you think, gee, what could I have done? What signs? Gee, maybe I should have asked them this, or I should have asked them that. And in our jobs there is a lot of pressure. Whether you're at working as a construction worker or whether you're part of management, there is a lot of pressure on us to deliver projects on time and make sure everything's safe all the time. It's always a constant thing, and it does get to you. And if you look at there's more suicides, in Australia. While we've been here, someone suicided in Australia. It's over 3,000 last year, suicide in Australia. Car accidents was just over 1,200. So, you imagine how many lives are lost. Part of our job is to preserve life. There's no point in us going earning fantastic wages, delivering jobs, ahead of schedule and all the rest of it and that, and then sort of not be around.
So the idea of the whole project is it's based on a 4-tier kind of setup to provide support to our industry. The first tier, it's about providing a general awareness to everybody on site about suicide prevention and information and education around suicide. So it's basically a 1 hour of talking to people about some of the risk factors about suicide, some of the protective factors, and it's predominantly a 1 hour about good mental health. But the key is about 3 or 4 simple messages that we want people to take home, and it's about looking after oneself and looking after your mates. That's kind of like the first 1 hour session that we want to deliver to everybody. To have that information available and to start the conversation, amongst everybody about suicide. Now, that first 1 hour, it's a little bit of an extension of what we've been really doing for the last 20 years or so in our toolboxes. The difference with this is that whilst we're kind of going to cover the mass, we're not going to talk to the masses. The idea of the 1 hour general awareness is to have a more of an intimate kind of relationship. So we're going to run groups of no more than 40 people to deliver these messages. To have that kind of fundamental basis of what this program is about, which is about peer support. So if you want to run a program that is fundamentally based on peer support, then you need to run it in an intimate kind of basis. So that first hour of general awareness, it is delivered to everybody on site, but it's delivered to small groups of 40 people, because we also understand that there is a lot of knowledge within ourselves, and so we want to share that knowledge about that information. But the idea is about those 3 or 4 key messages to start the conversation going. At the end of that first general awareness session, we give people the opportunity to volunteer to do a further 7-hour training to become the Blue Hats. And the Blue Hats is that go-to person, the person that can be easily identified, that you can go to and have the conversation, have that talk when you're not travelling well. But it's also, we want to upskill these Blue Hats to be able to look out for the signs and symptoms of people that are not travelling well, and being able to go and tap them on the shoulder and asking that, are you okay question, and upskilling with the tools, to be good listeners and to refer people out, to play that linking role to the specialist. I want to make clear that 7-hour training is not about training people to become counsellors or rescuers. It's more about being that support mechanism to be able to link people to the appropriate services.